Welcome back. I am N.S. Lavanya, Assistant Professor, Department of English, KCS Kasinadar College of Arts and Science. In this video, let's have a look at the summary of Act 2 of Macbeth. Banquo talks with his son Fleance and notices the stars are not shining. He prays for angels to restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose. Macbeth enters. Banquo tells Macbeth his sleep has been troubled by the words of the witches. Macbeth asks him never to think about them. He suggests they talk about the witches soon. If Banquo supports him when the time comes, he will reward and honor Banquo for it. Banquo says he'll be receptive to what Macbeth has to say, provided he loses no honor in seeking to gain more. Banquo and Fleance head off to bed. Banquo believes true manhood means acting honorably, just what Macbeth used to believe. Alone, Macbeth sees a bloody dagger floating in the air. He can't grasp it and can't decide whether it is a phantom or his imagination. Nature seems dead to him. Off stage, Lady Macbeth rings the bell to signal that Duncan's attendants are asleep. Macbeth goes to murder Duncan. Lady Macbeth waits in agitation for Macbeth to do the deed. She comments that had the sleeping Duncan not resembled like her father, she would have killed him herself. Macbeth enters. He has killed Duncan and Duncan's assistants. His hands are blood-stained. He is upset that when one of the attendants said, "God bless us," in his sleep, he was unable to say Amen. He also thought he heard a voice say, "Macbeth does murder sleep." Lady Macbeth comforts him and tells him to wash his hands. She notices that he is still carrying the daggers he used to kill Duncan. Macbeth refuses to return to the scene of the crime. So, Lady Macbeth, furious, runs off to plant the daggers on the attendants. A knock sound terrifies Macbeth. He worries that not all the water in the world could wash the blood from his hands. Lady Macbeth returns, her hands now as bloody as Macbeth's. But she is calm and identifies the mysterious knocking as someone at the south entrance. She says, "A little water clears us of this deed," and tells Macbeth to go and put his nightgown on so no one will suspect them. At the door are Macduff, a Scottish nobleman, and the Thane of Fife and Lennox. Macduff good-naturedly asks what took so long. Porter blames drunkenness and makes a series of jokes about alcohol and its effects on man. He imagines he is guarding hell. But with the murder of Duncan, he really is guarding a hellish place. Macbeth enters pretending to have just woken up. Macduff asks if the king has woken yet. Duncan had asked to see Macduff early that morning. Macbeth points out where Duncan is sleeping and Macduff goes off to wake him. Macduff cries out in horror and runs on stage. Macbeth and Lennox ask what happened, then run to Duncan's chamber. Banquo, Macomb, and Donalbain wake. Lady Macbeth enters pretending and horrified as though they don't know what happened when Macduff tells her of the murder. Macbeth returns and wishes he had died rather than have to see such a thing. Macomb and Donalbain enter and ask what's happened. Lennox tells them that Duncan was murdered by his drunken attendants. Macbeth wishes aloud that he had killed the attendants. When Macduff asks why Macbeth did so, Macbeth says he was so furious that they had murdered the Duncan that he could not control himself. Lady Macbeth faints. The Thanes agree to meet in the hall to discuss what has happened. Macomb and Donalbain, though, remain behind. They realize that one of the Thanes is probably the murderer and fear that they'll be the next targets. They decide to flee, Macomb to England and Donalbain to Ireland. Rose and an old man stand near Macbeth's castle. They discuss the unnatural portents just before and after Duncan's murder. Darkness during the day, owls killing hawks, horses eating one another. Macduff enters. He says it seems Duncan's attendants did commit the murder. Macomb and Donalbain fled. They likely were behind the plot. Macduff then says Macbeth has been made king. Ross heads to the coronation, but Macduff returns to his own castle at 5. Thus the end of Act 2. Thanks for watching. We meet again the next video with the summary of Act 3.